This session titled ESG, Environment, Social and Governance and Green Finance. This session will inquire the importance of ESG score of the factories in making their business resilient in the long run, importance of collaboration with buyers, conducive policy framework, availability and challenges of green finance avenues, and shared responsibilities of the supply chain actors. Now I'm introducing our honorable speakers for this session. We have Mr. Ranjan Mahtani, Chairman of Epic Group, who will be joining us virtually. Mr. Kim Hellstrom, Head of Green Investment Supply Chain of H&M Group, who will also join us virtually. Mr. Sudipto Mukherjee, Resident Representative of the UNDP Bangladesh, he will be also with us virtually. Ms. Gemma Verhoeven, Team Lead Impact Investments, Good Fashion Fund. Mr. Kamal Kadir, Founder and CEO of Bikash. Ms. Jennifer K. Jabbar, Director, Social Compliance and Safeguarding of BRAC. Ms. Mahjabin Kadir, Senior Policy Advisor, Economic Affairs and CSR, Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Bangladesh. Mr. Naushad Mustafa, Deputy General Manager of Bangladesh Bank. And Mr. Munawar Misbah Moeen, Managing Director, Rahim Afroz Renewable Energy Limited. They are present with us here today. I'm requesting all of you to please come up on stage and take your seats. This session will be moderated by Ms. Jennifer K. Jabbar, Director, Social Compliance and Safeguarding of BRAC.
Asif, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon to everybody. It's my honor to kickstart this session. We've been doing business in Bangladesh since 1984. And really, it's our privilege to see Bangladesh grow into this powerhouse in this global apparel chain. And we are very happy to be a small part of that growth. My heartiest congratulations to Mr. Mustafazuddin, who has arranged this event with all his passion and his hard work. I think he's put a fantastic event together. So, heartfelt thanks to him. Since this is about ESG, I'll just talk a few minutes about ESG and then hopefully show you a couple of videos and pass it on to your session. For us, ESG is a collaboration. I think no one government or one company can create a better planet. This is a mantelpiece that we all have to undertake, and each one of us has to do what is necessary for a better planet. And what we do today will impact many future generations. At Epic Group, we look at ESG very simply. It's people and planet. On the people side, I think the people of our company, the people who work in our factories, are the most important people that we have. And we've always tried to be innovative in trying to give them a safe and congenial workplace. More importantly, try and do things differently which could improve their lives. I remember back 15 years ago when I came there and I saw that the payrolls were being paid by cash, and it bothered me that how can so many number of people be paid by cash, and is there any possibility that there could be people in the middle who could take advantage? Well, we were very happy that we could open at that time 20,000 bank accounts for our workers, set up electronic ATMs in our factories, and we've been on an electronic payroll since then. Or, for example, recently we had an eye test for every single associate in our company, and we found that 40% of them either needed eyeglasses or some kind of treatment. Today, we keep female counselors in all our factories. Some of them require advice on family planning. Some of them need advice on how to have children if they're having difficulty or any family issues. We consider their problems as our problems. And I think that's a very, very important part of ESG, which starts with people. On the planet side, I think everybody in this room and everybody who is the distinguished speakers and companies that are participating have done a lot. but our company's focus is on various issues and it's never ending. We signed up with a company for traceability. It's an offshoot of HSBC called Serai, where we are now tracking the whereabouts of all the yarn that our fabrics are made from. We recently set up a membrane therapy effluent treatment plant which actually discharges water which is clear, I would say nearly drinkable. Um, we're always looking at eco-friendly, low-water washing machines and all other ways to reduce our carbon emissions. Obviously, have solar panels in our factories and look at all the smaller things which result in higher consumptions, be it the motors, be it the boilers. So for us, we have a whole panel of team members working on sustainability. And for us, it's a continuous job which we try to address from all angles. ESG and sustainability is really the foundation of our company. We aspire to be Higgs leaders by 2024-25, if not earlier. I would once again like to thank the organizers of this event to allow me to kickstart this session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, distinguished guests and the panel speakers today. Our plenary session, which is on ESG and green financing. Just to set the context a little, globalization of the production chain and fast fashion has made apparel consumption at its highest level. And with this comes social and environmental impacts. If we see the apparel consumption, the global emission right now worldwide is 8%. And if we see the consumption of water annually, it's 79 billion cubic meters annually. And this impact is coming from the apparel industry worldwide. A Business Insider report of last April had said that consumers are not only looking at the quality of the garments, they are looking at how it was made. They are wanting to know how much environmental impact has come on, has been there because of making these clothes. They are wanting to know whether it was made under conducive work environments. They're looking at aspects of decent work, of basically any harassment issues, whether workers are safe, whether workers are in a conducive workplace. So these aspects cannot be seen as a trade-off of one partner against the other. What happens is that when consumers demand this, then governments are also working to ensure right now that there is transparency and traceability in the supply chain, where measurable indicators are there. The brands are basically putting thrust on the suppliers to ensure transparency and traceability. So it has to be looked at. There are many players today, all doing their own separate things, but we need to look at it holistically, where the government today on talking about some of the aspects of what is in place, where we need to go, what challenges and what solutions would be available. So my first question is to Mr. Kim Hellstrom, the head of Green Investment Supply Chain H&M Group. He will be joining online with us. Hello, Mr. Kim. As our first, H&M Group is one of the leading global sustainable apparel brands, and your work with Bangladesh, you are a very strategic partner of Bangladesh. So my first question to you is that H&M Group envisions that it will reach net zero by 2040. So the question is that what strategies do you have in place right now? And what do you expect our suppliers to be doing? And how could you support our suppliers in this holistic approach to ensure, ensure that this happens? Thank you.
Well, thank you for those questions, great questions, and thank you for having me also. As I mentioned, has set out to try to show leadership within our industry. We do have the most ambitious goal where we reduce 6% of our value chain absolute emissions until 2030. And to achieve this, we need to get away from all fossil fuel in our supply chain. It's as easy as that. And we're starting with coal. This is the dirtiest of all. And when I'm saying started, it's our daily focus as of now. We have already banned new suppliers from entering our supply chain if they have any on-site coal usage. And we've started to drive our business in a way that supports those companies that transition fast and remove business models. We know that when it comes to Bangladesh, coal is not a major problem. It's more of we have a very good percentage of natural gas for energy consumption. Is our supply. Many are totally dependent on natural gas, especially for the heat generation, which we foresee to be the biggest challenge in this transition. So what we want to do is to financially support technologies for our suppliers, such as solar, thermal, renewable, access to renewable electricity, and also other innovative technologies, such as bottleless dyeing, for example, where you can have both water and energy savings. And we must also not forget the bigger importance of continued efforts within energy efficiency, because we need to make the problem smaller before we can fully solve it. So we really want to support our suppliers in all three of those areas. We know that it's going to be a bit bumpy road for our suppliers to achieve this. Each company has their unique challenges, and therefore our green investment branch or organization is willing to listen to each and every one of our suppliers' specific needs and the specific challenges in order to give the best possible solutions and the best possible support. Our aim is to reduce the investment cost for the suppliers in this transition by 50%.
Thank you, Kim. So yes, everybody will have their role to play, and in that, we'd like to thank you for your valuable inputs. I'd now like to come to Gemma Verhoeven. Have I said it right? Okay, great. So Good Fashion Fund is one of the global funds for the apparel industry, and I understand you have MOUs with BGMEA. From a financing perspective, how do you evaluate the ESG readiness of the SMEs? Because we cannot only think of the cream, but also the medium-sized enterprises in accessing finance from the Global Fund, from the Good Fashion Fund, and what opportunities do you see Bangladesh has in availing these opportunities from Good Fashion Fund and having a holistic approach?
Thank you. I hope you can hear me. Indeed, the Good Fashion Fund is very happy to be able to travel again. And so we've visited Bangladesh since a long time, again last March, where we were very pleased to hold a workshop together with our partner BGMEA. And we were able to meet a lot of interesting smaller enterprises that are also considering investing in sustainability. And I think that would be our first impression, that ESG in general is high on the calendars of many companies. First of all, I think there was a lot of attention to being compliant. I think that was mentioned today many times already, that topics like health and safety was so exemplary and fast implemented in Bangladesh, that we are really impressed as well with the facilities that we have seen, and that we hope to see a lot more in terms of how they are organized, in terms of workers' well-being. And the same for environmental management. There's been a lot of attention for waste management and pollution prevention, etc. I think the G of ESG has been a little bit underlighted so far. So governance-wise, I think compliance is important on environmental and social issues, but also on financial standards and transparency and governance structures, etc. I think that is a topic that can be improved for the companies in Bangladesh. So definitely also a topic that we pay attention to in our due diligence and that we hope to support companies to advance in. But keeping focus on environmental and social aspects, we also see that companies not only want to be compliant, but they see the business case in doing this type of investment. So there's many times economic benefits out of making investments in new technologies that are simply saving costs because they use less energy and they use less chemicals. So we see that not only from a regulatory point of view investments are being made, but also because the business model and the business case is being seen as important and relevant. Likewise, actually, on the social side, I think companies, more and more learn that having a healthy and happy workforce actually improves productivity and quality and is not only a cost item. So I think that's a very positive development that we would like to encourage. And it will only be more and more important to be at the forefront of those developments because I think being compliant is constantly changing. Regulations are being updated. We've heard a lot about EU due diligence regulations today. So being compliant one day doesn't mean that you're still compliant on day 10. You need to keep on innovating and being part of the new developments. So I think it's important to already be ahead of that so that once those laws become to effect, you're actually already able to comply and not having a backlog in making investments in hindsight. And I think another thing that is being learned is that so far many times ESG was being approached as a risk mitigation matter, not wanting to have bad press, reputation risk. But I think slowly the positive side is being seen, that if you can present yourself as a front runner of sustainability, it has an added value and it actually enhances your market position as a manufacturer or as a brand if you can showcase what investments you have made on environmental and social matters. And this is exactly where the Good Fashion Fund tries to contribute. So we provide loans to manufacturers that are investing in sustainable equipment. But other than that, we will also try to help them advance their position and communicate the message to the different stakeholders in the market. One of the objectives of the fund is really to provide our learning experience to the rest of the market to make sure that not the same mistakes are being made, but especially also that good examples are being replicated. So with all our investee companies, we will work together with our partners, Fashion for Good and Lotus Foundation, that have a big network among brands and stakeholders, to really showcase what benefits it has to a company that is investing in sustainability. And our impression so far is in Bangladesh that many of the companies are very motivated to do so. So I'm sure that we will be back a lot of times to have continue conversations with those companies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gemma. What you say is exactly right. We very much welcome your technical expertise. We have many SMEs that also need to look at financing opportunities because holistically, it's not just the cream of the industry, but it's throughout the value chain. We have to look at everyone. So the technical expertise is welcome, and we look forward to our supplier factories investing in them so that we can actually have green financing coming up. Thank you so much. Now I come to Mr. Kamal Kadir, the founder and CEO of bKash. Thank you for coming. You've played a pivotal role in the mobile banking sector, and I think during the pandemic, it was quite transformational in terms of ensuring ESG. One component of transparency and traceability is doing digital wage payments. And this has been phenomenal. If you could talk about a little of the journey over the pandemic, how it happened, and what learnings do you have? And what do you think is the future of mobile banking for this sector?
Thank you. Thank you. It's a very generous introduction. And I don't know whether you can hear us, but I am actually having difficulty hearing from here, so I'll try to speak as slowly as possible. Before answering your question, let me first give a very brief introduction of what bKash is, because many of the foreign delegates here may not fully know what bKash. So bKash is a central bank regulated financial service, and it is owned by primarily Bank of Bangladesh. Also, it has shareholder from World Bank Group's International Finance Corporation and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Alibaba Group of China, and SoftBank of Japan. So what we provide is a limited financial accounts. And the most common use of that account is sending money to each other. That's the first adoption of our service. But subsequently, there are many other major adoptions took place, namely people buy airtime, people make utility bill payment, people make all kind of payments, and also accept payments. And recently, in partnership with banks, we are offering lending and obviously savings as well. So the question you asked, like during the COVID, we made apparently an important steps. Now, interestingly, when we look at our data, during COVID, our transaction went down. It's the urban population, they adopted bKash more during the COVID. But our main users are in the rural countries space of the country. So if I look at the core use of bKash, it depends on people's income level and income activities. So during the COVID, naturally, we had certain challenges. And so when we saw the overall use of bKash, COVID was not a good news. But what has happened to my friends, and often the cosmopolitan people of Bangladesh, they end up using bKash more during the COVID time. So we often hear that during COVID it went up. Actually, in real life, during COVID it actually went down. Now, the reason it worked very well, because when the government wanted to pay certain support to the RMG sector, they wanted to ensure that the money goes to the right person. And that's where bKash plays a very important role, because each and every account is verified with the national ID card system. Central bank regulates the service. So if you want to pay somebody a small amount of money, then bKash is a very good platform to use. And I'm humble in sharing this thing, that in the RMG sector, more than 1 million workers are now getting their salary through bKash accounts. So that has given lots of efficiency, and many of the, I know factory owners are here who use bKash, and they have been very satisfied in terms of their, how they want to control the salary payment, and the loss of their work hours have gone down. People, after getting the salary, are not going home to deliver the money in person. Rather, they're paying the salary through the platform. And in terms of efficiency, when I talk to the factory owners, they find great efficiency because of pure cost of reduction of cost, as well as reduction of waste of time. Okay. So from that angle, it has worked out very well. We already, as I said, about 1 million workers, around 1,200 factories are using bKash right now. Now you asked, what are the next things we can do? Now, well, let me tell you a story here first. So the World Bank's chief economist was in Bangladesh a few years ago, and he wanted to see how the payroll can be done through platform like ours. So I, along with Bangladesh Bank colleagues, took him to Vialatech, one of the prominent textile RMG factory, company. And this gentleman, this World Bank chief economist, happened to be Bengali. So he speaks Bangla. So he asked the factory workers, like, how is Bikash? And this worker said that, some of them said it's good, some of them is quite good. And then one person had a complaint. And she said that, every time I get my salary in Bikash, I get the text message instantly that says how much salary I'm getting. I don't want that text to come to my mobile phone. Now, usually we get feedback that text is few seconds late. We never hear, I don't want the text. So before I say something, the chief economist of the World Bank, Dr. Kaushik Bosu, he asked, like, why don't you want the text message? And she said that I don't want my husband to know how much salary I'm getting. Now, what I find interesting that she trusts the system, namely because she trusts her owner who is sending the salary. So in the ecology, there are so many complexities, okay? And all those complexities are not possible for us to address. But this is one thing I saw, that customer, in this case, the salary recipient, it's not, I don't know that family dynamics, but what I do know that she wanted her fund to be within her control. And I think that is something we can provide. But beyond that, if you see currently Bikash users are getting loan and banks are providing the loan, and how is that happening? Because based on your Bikash transaction, whether you are sending money, whether you are making a payment, whether you are receiving money, whether you are buying airtime, based on this data, banks are doing a smart algorithm and determining instantly when they apply for the loan that whether this person is eligible for that money and how much money they're eligible. So if I am a garments worker, I have been getting my 15,000 taka, 20,000 taka, or 10,000 taka salary every month. So my economic activities are quite clearly defined. I am buying airtime. Every few days I am buying some airtime. I am sending money to my home. So my record somewhat says that I am doing good things. I am doing economic activities. Okay. So these are the kind of things I see going forward would be more and more advanced from the Bikash platform side.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kader. I think you raise a very important point on transparency and traceability. We are all human beings, and the people working are also human beings, but everyone's social context is not the same. There may need to be a balancing exercise on how transparent we are. It's just thoughts to ponder upon, because if it's going to do more harm, if a worker is receiving the exact amount of her wages and they are taken by the husband, then how much good have we done? So thoughts to think about, and it's for all stakeholders. I'd now like to come to Naushad Mustafa Bhai, the Deputy General Manager of Bangladesh Bank. Thank you for coming today. So Bangladesh Bank has a number of excellent policies and guidelines in place for green financing. But despite having such robust policies, do you think sometimes it's a bit of a hindrance, especially for SMEs? Because we can't leave them behind. We need a holistic approach. Not only, how do you think this can be overcome? And we know that basically the policies are produced and you go through the scheduled banks. How can we support to ensure green financing so that the industry as a whole can benefit?
Thank you, Bangladesh Apparel Exchange and Sustainable Apparel Forum, for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to share my experience in this regard. I just want to add two sentences with Kamal Bhai. Probably he had not had much time to discuss. Actually, one thing is our moderator asked regarding the future of mobile banking, how MFS can contribute more to the workers of the RMG industries, to be specific. So Kamal Bhai probably forgot to mention that they already introduced a small deposit scheme in partnership with IDLC. The workers who had their salary, say, 10,000 taka, they can, if they want, they can deposit 500 taka or 600 taka monthly in IDLC using the channel bKash. They don't need to go to IDLC or any other NBFIs or banks. They just can use the app, and it is growing. So it is not only bKash, other MFS, the whole mobile financial services, I think, will be used more and more in future years and decades to facilitate the payment and financial management of financial services for the not only the RMG, all of the industries in Bangladesh. And one more thing is that not only during the pandemic and managing the incentive packages for salary distribution, many years before that, some of the industry owners here are using MFS to disburse their salaries. Again, not only bKash, also some other mobile financial services. So the partnership will grow in a stronger way and will be stronger. Now coming back to green support funds run by Bangladesh Bank. In Bangladesh Bank, actually, there are different funds. One is GTF, Green Transformation Fund, which has been introduced in 2016, a 200 million equivalent USD fund to support not only RMGs, other export-oriented industries as well. And after 3 years, it has added another fund of 200 million euro, because we have seen that some of the banks don't have much euros in their possession to support the exporters or the industry owners. And when they, provide euro buying using the dollar, so the exchange loss is there for the industry owners. Then we come up with another fund which is 200. It is also called GTF, Green Transformation Fund. So these are the two. Second, there is a long-term financing facility which also provides support not only to RMGs, all the export-oriented industries of Bangladesh, and it is running quite well. And it is a partnership between World Bank and Bangladesh government and Bangladesh Bank. Now the fund has been utilized by so far 60 industries, and you will be happy to know that within these 60 industries, 51 or 50 number of industries from RMG sector. So we are supporting RMGs in different ways. And another special fund we have been running for last 2 years, we call it SRIAP, support to safety retrofits and environmental and social upgradation of the RMG sectors of Bangladesh. In that fund, we provide for safety retrofits sort of requirement, which is actually fall under the CAP, Corrective Action Plan, fixed by Accord Alliance and our National Tripartite Plan of Action. And factories, those completed that part, we provide them support for next steps, environmental and social upgradation. And nowadays, you all know very well, better than me at least, that many of even your machineries fall under the environmental category. Because how do we classify intervention is, can be identified as an environmental upgradation or not? In two ways. You all know that thing, so I'm not going to the details. Now coming to the main part, my moderator very categorically asks that, can we reach to the targeted people in a very good way, or there are hindrances and bureaucratic processes? As a central bank, we always, we need to and we have to follow, we follow the traditional channels that that means the banks and the non-bank financial institutions, to disburse the special funds or monies, whether it is provided by any development partner or it's Bangladesh government fund or Bangladesh Bank's money, own money. So we always follow the traditional channel, and the banks actually take, the credit risk. So we cannot push them more that you go to the vulnerable factories. As banks are a business entity, I will not take much time, 1 more minute at least. So we cannot push the banks or NBFIs that you forget your credit risk, you go directly to the vulnerable factories. This is a challenge. So to avoid this challenge or to overcome this challenge, what can be done? It has been on the discussion table for quite a number of years, 2-3 years at least. But I don't know who will, initiate this thing. I think there is a very strong partnership. There is a strong partnership between our BGMEA and the brands and the institutions like Fashion Fund and other things. There should be a specific fund for supporting these initiatives, and there should be an alternative direct channel, and there needs some sort of guarantee from either government or from the association, so that the small industries, the SMEs, can come and take that opportunity. Otherwise, if we always follow the traditional channel, it will be very difficult to reach the actual people. And I have been talking about SRIAP, and under this SRIAP project, we funds for last couple of months, we have financed 15 or 16 factories, and only 2 factories among these 16 are, you can say, real SMEs. Rest 14 are actually the bigger ones. They have their support, but still they are coming and we are providing them support. So I will stop here, and if time allows, we will come back later. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. So there are obstacles considering the SME's vulnerability and positions, but if we are to look at the industry as a whole, we need to see and overcome certain challenges, some recommendations you have made. Without government, without this central bank, green financing is going to be very difficult, and it cannot be only to the cream, as I said. It has to be looked at holistically. So we hope that the government will play a pivotal role in ensuring and other stakeholders in ensuring that green financing opportunities are available for all. My next question is to Monwar Misbah Moin. He's the Managing Director of Rohima Afroz Renewable Energy Limited. Thank you for coming on board. So you've been a market leader in renewable energy, especially on solar, which is very important for ensuring environmental reduction in environmental pollution. So if you could say some of the options available on refinancing, etc., and how can you include SMEs to meet the requirements of financial institutions, being one of the largest technology companies in the country?
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon. I think I'll quickly just focus on 2 points. One is that why the technology is good. The technology is good, solar specifically, because it's a productive use of renewable energy. Because you are using solar and you are using the energy right where you are generating it. And from a solar plant life cycle, the savings can be from as little as 15% to as high as 25%. So it's a sheer economic payback and sustainable solution. There is no issue about it. But I would suggest that we expand the energy ecosystem. It's not only about the solar rooftop, it's about even energy storage, because the same factory could have a 2 megawatt diesel backup generator, and it's not a good idea, So you need to now, along with solar rooftop, we should look into energy storage so that energy security, sustainability, backup, everything is actually good, clean, and affordable. And the final technology option that will eventually come is also e-mobility, because you got your workers being transported, you got massive amount of cargoes being transported from factories to the ports. And it's a very good possibility in the next 5 to 10 years' time, you will notice that the whole thing is happening on electric vehicles actually, from the workers, management, transportation, to even cargo. So that whole ecosystem, if we keep in mind, increasingly we will see the efficiency and the cost and the sustainability coming. And I loved what actually Naushad Bhai actually took my word, I would say, the kitty. You know, he talked about a specific fund, it should be there on top of the initiative. And I had written that on a note that, you know, BGMEA, the brands, and of course Bangladesh Bank. You know, we can start with a small 100 crore taka fund, very simple, nothing extravagant. And with that kitty can take the risk of doing new things. And with, as you said, some people who may not seem bankable. Sometimes technology doesn't seem bankable, sometimes organizations don't seem bankable. So this kitty can take that sort of the initial risk, and eventually conventional banks and financial institutions must understand that these are productive assets that can be financed by itself. And that is the learning curve that we need to speed up so that the adaptation of all this happens at a desirable level, at a targeted level. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, that brings important points that we know certain solutions that can actually speed up processes of both green financing and ensuring more environmental friendly conditions. We're also moving through a big transformation. Industry is getting more automated. You're going to have more energy efficiency. But those pilot projects need to be done. And we need to invest there, and quicker if not later. But I think one thing we've learned from all of the discussions that have happened today is that no single party, many people are doing many things, but no single party can do anything alone. And addressing ESG, green financing, conducive work, all of this requires each party's intervention. Government has a key role to play, from whether it's DIFI, from whether it's Bangladesh Bank, from whether it's the different ministries, they need to get involved. We have the brands who have a pivotal role to play, and we have the suppliers and the supply chain. So everybody needs to work together. We can't turn a blind eye anymore because everyone is asking for measurable indicators. Even the consumers need to understand all of this comes at a price. And we need to look at our own margins we're making so that we can have a sustainable planet where we are looking into environment and looking into ESG for the days to come. So with this, I'd like to, our session ends. We have a poll, if we could see that on the screen. So we have the question, incentivizing sustainable production practices to encourage ESG is 79%, robust training and capacity development on ESG, 64%, strengthening policy tools to encouraging ESG, 64%, both at par, raising awareness across the industry, community postal articles, strong collaboration between manufacturers, banks, and buyers. So with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, distinguished speakers, and thank you to the audience for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Moderator and speakers, for sharing insights into ESG, environment, social and governance, and green finance conservation issue. Before we conclude, I would like to request all of you to stand up for a group photograph.